Welcome to this video tutorial on entering information into the SIP certified database, in particular for Chapter 14, Year-End Water and Nitrogen Use Reporting. We will be looking at the nitrogen use part today. This is the main page for the SIP certified database. I'm going to go into certifications, pick that. I'm going to scroll down here to Chapter 14, Year-End Water and Nitrogen Use Reports. I'm going to pick this guy. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right down to nitrogen use reports. There's three sections here, or four sections really. One is solid fertilizers, one is liquid fertilizers, one is compost, and one is water. How much nitrate, nitrogen, or nitrogen was contributed from the irrigation water itself. Alright, so lots of math here. What we've done to make this easier is we have created an Excel workbook, which is the SIP Certified Chapter 14 Year-End Water and Nitrogen Use Reports workbook. This is the instructions page. Here is the key. The yellow box is where we enter information. If we have a lab analysis, it goes in the green. This teal color is for internal calculations, not the ones that we enter into the database. And then the pink is the number that we enter into the database where all the calculations have been done. There is a nitrogen use tab over here. Information that goes in and information that comes out. Okay, so let's start with solid fertilizer. Let's say, for the sake of argument, we put on 10 pounds of a particular product. So that's the pounds of fertilizer itself per acre. And we look on the label and we find out that this stuff is 10% nitrogen, which means we put on 1 pound of nitrogen per acre from that solid fertilizer application. We also then have liquid fertilizer, and we say, well, how many gallons did we put on? I'm going to say we put on 20 gallons of this particular product. It was 10%. Now the weight per gallon in pounds, that's going to be on the label. The density is going to be on the label in terms of weight per gallon per pounds. 11 would not be that unusual. Water itself is going to be about 8.4. So if you've got stuff dissolved in it, you should expect it to be higher than that. So by putting on this 20 gallons at 10% and knowing that it weighs 11 pounds, that means we put on 22 pounds of nitrogen per acre from liquid fertilizer, which is then summed up and gives us a total of 23 pounds. Now, you may not have put on any solid, not unusual, and then you get 22 pounds. So we're going to go with that. Compost calculations are made in a separate spreadsheet. We've gone through that in another video. Water, that is a little more confusing. There's two methods that a lab will report the nitrogen content of water. One is the NO3 method. The other is the NO3N method. And so when you look at your lab analysis, you need to see which of these two is being used for the reporting. And there's a factor translates between the two, but we'll make it easier for you. So let's see, how many parts per million did the lab say that we had? Well, let's say they had 100. I don't know if that's a great number, but we'll try it. And that gives us 62 pounds of N per acre foot of water applied. This number is calculated, is used to be put into the database, but it's also based on calculation using the amount of irrigation water that we calculated earlier on an earlier tab and in a different video. Now you'll notice this thing pops up here. We got a little error message that says, "Wow, that seems a little high." It may not be false. It may be true. This may be your number. But what we wanted to do is have this pop up and say, "Hey, are you sure?" Maybe you just kind of check. And it's still on the high side. Let's go to 5. And then that disappears. So In some cases, there is a lot of nitrates in the water. It can contribute quite a lot. The thing here is, are you sure that that's accurate? So you don't just make a data entry error. Then down here is the other, let's say this stuff is reported at NO3N. For fun, I'm going to use that 5 again. And what do we get here? We get 18 pounds. So all of that then is going to get entered into the spreadsheet. So let's scroll back up here where our other numbers are. 22 pounds from fertilizers. Go to here. Here's our example with fertilizers. So we put on 22 with fertilizers. And how much did we put on with compost? Like I said, that was computed earlier in a different tab of the workbook. We're going to say the compost application we put on 51. Fair amount. Again, here's a little warning message that suggests maybe that's kind of on the high side. And that's in the database itself. And then from water, we're going to say that we used this method, so I'm going to call it 4.26. And again, it says tends to fall outside the range. Are you certain? And it may be right, it may be wrong. The key is to get that pop up and say, oh, is that the correct number or not? Pretty straightforward between the calculations here and the warnings in the database. You should be in pretty good shape for making the right kinds of choices. We hope this is helpful. We hope this will help keep the math straight, and we hope that it will make your data entry all the easier since the math is being done for you here as opposed to having to do those calculations by hand. All right, thanks for viewing.